Hello, my name is Ana Belén, and I am currently working at the University of Algarve.
Hi, my name is Marta, and I'm a PhD student at the University of Granada.
Our work in the world of research is focused on bilingualism, and concretely, we investigate teaching strategies that can enhance foreign language acquisition.
We are going to speak about different methods that have proven to be beneficial in this challenging task.
Successful language learning relies on different factors, and today we are going to focus our presentation on the role of theoretical and methodological procedures underlining foreign language acquisition. We will see that there are different learning systems as a prerequisite to explore different strategies that can help in second language acquisition process, to end up speaking about the importance of linguistic experience, individual differences, and personalized teaching.
As Professor Rossi pointed in her interview on the topic, there are different strategies toward learning a new language that seem to rely on different memory systems, and therefore interact directly with the learners themselves. Ullmann's model proposed that depending on the way we learn a new language, two memory systems will be implicated in acquisition and retrieval. On the one hand, if we learn a language in typical classroom settings, we will be making use of the declarative memory. This is an effortful, fast, and attentionally controlled process. On the other hand, if we acquire the new language in immersion context, the procedural memory will be implicated, and in this case, the process is effortless, slower, and does not require voluntary attention. Following this model, it is necessary to think about the characteristics of the strategies we use while teaching or learning. The declarative strategy will require a controlled context and explicit instruction must be given to the learner. In this case, learners have to elaborate and associate ideas. Following these light-down strategies, there are concrete methodologies that have been found to be more effective than others. Some examples are picture or gesture word association, elaboration of examples, corrected feedback, or metalinguistic explanations. On the contrary, procedural methods that follow immersive strategies are less controlled and will not require direct instruction. Learning is implicit. Some examples following this methodological framework are reading novels, watching films or TV shows, or even listening to music.
If we think about how we normally teach or learn new vocabulary, almost all of us will have the same answer: let's. This picture is an example. It is taken from my own English teacher's book. This is an explicit teaching method. In this way, we are giving unimodal lexical information because only words are presented. This is called word-word association method because we learn what is the correct translation of a word in our language. At this point, I can advance that this is not the most effective way to teach vocabulary. In a series of studies, we wanted to explore how effective the word-word association method is compared to other strategies, including a richer learning context. In a first study, we included pictures together with lexical information. In this way, we create traces in episodic memory. Not only words, but words combined with representative pictures are processed while learning. The method is called picture-word association, and results showed clear benefits compared to the only lexical strategy. This strategy will be especially beneficial for nouns learning because it is easy to look for real correlates, especially for concrete nouns. If we think about verbs, especially action verbs, are clearly linked to movements, so it is easy to think on a movement illustrating or reflecting the verb's meaning. In this way, we are able to create mixed traces in memory, storing motor information together with lexical information. In one of our studies, participants learned new verbs with representative gestures or without gestures. It was also found that gestures benefited not only verbs acquisition, but also nouns learning. Results show that gestures use is a powerful strategy to learn both types of words compared to the word-word association. In the previous study, we asked the participants to perform the gestures themselves, and we wanted to explore if the mere observation of gestures is enough to cause the learning improvement. Learners imitating gestures while learning showed advantages compared to the mere observation of the experimental gestures. However, the mere observation of gestures showed advantages compared to a condition in which no gestures were presented. So, again, the word-word association method showed the poorest results. Summing up, The establishment of bimodal connections, storing not only words in memory, but also pictures or gestures directly associated with the word's meaning, helps in the learning process. Pictures were useful to learn new nouns in a foreign language, and gestures enhance the verbs and nouns learning. In addition, the mere observation of gestures performed by the instructor was enough to observe advantages compared to a condition where only words were presented. We have observed disadvantages also in brainwave oscillations. Finally, we know we cannot communicate using vocabulary in isolation, and we observed that pictures were also beneficial when new words were included in the sentence context.
However, the learning of a new grammar is quite different from the vocabulary learning itself, since it relies more on implicit learning. The traditional example of implicit learning is getting immersed in a context where people speak the language you want to learn. And during the process of immersion, the main goal is not learning anything in particular, but follow a conversation on different levels, from just passively hear the conversation on the street to give a response to a question, perhaps when ordering a coffee. These kind of interactions enable the exposure of the learner to regularities that help the acquisition of the rules. Listening to music, watching TV shows or films, and reading books or assisting to a workshop give you similar experiences, where the main goal is to understand something to a certain level, that at the same time give us exposure to the regularities that could develop on an implicit knowledge of the grammar rules on a new language. Even if, especially during adulthood, the presence of explicit information of a certain rule is quite beneficial, the use of strategies where the attention is directed toward the comprehension of the sentence and not to the grammatical information is also beneficial. We need to keep in mind three factors when we talk about the implicit benefits. First, the way to test the learning progress is not the same. Many times we expect that the nature of the knowledge is going to be explicit. However, after learning in an implicit way, it is quite possible that the knowledge is not explicitly accessible to the learner. In those circumstances, tasks that ask for recognition of grammatical sentences are really useful. We need to understand that implicit learning needs more time to achieve successful comparing to the explicit learning. More exposition is needed in this case. There are also individual differences associated with which kind of learning is more useful for the learner. For example, there are differences in age. While children get more benefits from implicit learning, it seems that adults are better when exposed to explicit learning. Nevertheless, there are circumstances where they also benefit from this implicit learning process. Also, it is important to highlight that research has found that learning a new language at any age is a great experience full of benefits, especially if we focus on different strategies. Some other individual differences in memory and cognitive skills are found to benefit learning in different contexts. As Professor Rossi and Nas pointed out, there is differences in the implication of attention and memory in the process of learning. Hence, if we think about the strategies that could be used in certain clinic population with perhaps some of the cognitive or memory system impaired, it is important to shape the learning to benefit their own cognitive skills. Finally, individual differences in previous experience with learning seems to be also important in predicting learning outcomes. Living in a really globalized world where it is usual to have learners of a language that already are bilinguals, it is important to point this out. The popular assumption that bilingual people learn a new language better than monolingual have been found in research related to the capacity of the bilinguals' learning experience that give them tools that benefit their process of learning. For example, they have been able to reduce the interference of the first language in the learning process itself. They might also use the same strategies that they use when they learn their second languages. And finally, they have the possibility to transfer knowledge from other languages based on their proficiency on that languages. But are bilingual aware of their benefits when really learning the language? Here you can find an interview with a multilingual speaker who learned all her languages in different ways and wanted to share with us her experience.
As we have been talking, there are many factors interfering in the process of learning, and recent research proposed the possibility to use personalized learning as a tool towards successful language learning. Since there is evidence that certain skills, as phonological discrimination, are beneficial in the process of learning vocabulary, training those who doesn't have these skills seem to give a positive outcome in the process of learning itself. Hence, training different skills related to successful learning could then help in the process of learning. And that is why it is so important to know our learner's background, both cognitively and linguistically, when introducing a system of learning. However, we are aware that we don't always have enough resources to do personalized teaching. Therefore, having multimodal approaches to what we want them to learn is a great tool in the classroom because we give different strategies towards a unique goal, successful learning. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more, watch the next screencast.